that's real. Tell me how you really feel. Now that you hearing the thrill. I was all on my own. Now when looking made it home. Spit the dish up from the dome. I look we gone and this is the thrill. Welcome to the thrill. Giving you something that's real. Tell me how you really.
What is going on, everybody? As you guys have seen, I don't have Robbie with me today because we're doing a little something different. We are here at Field of View, presented by The Rated F. But I didn't come just with my special guest here, Nancy. I actually came in with a whole group of people. So today, guys, we really want to talk about a really, really special topic. Actually, a really big topic. I don't think we talk about a lot. And it's kind of interesting to talk about. So I posted this on my Facebook. So anyone who's watching it on Facebook, I posted this question about trials of marriage. So I do have my lovely guests here. I have Nancy here to my my left. We have Selena and Monty with their little baby right there, Andre.
Hi, Andre.
And then we have Chris, all coming in from Orlando.
Yep.
Representing the old town.
The O.
So guys,
a little bit of St. Cloud as well.
yeah, you're borderline Kissimmee at this point.
Yep.
So guys, this is a really big topic. For anyone who's gonna stick around and watch. I always ask if you guys could like and subscribe if you guys love what we're going on and what we're talking about today, guys. It's a lot of great topics, and I would love to get more feedback. Please, guys, let us know what you want to talk about going into the future. But right now, I kind of want to ask a series of questions, and more so that our viewers who are going to watch this can see this and maybe know you guys. Because if this is something we can continue, we could probably do a couple parts to this, because I feel like there's so many layers into what we're going to go into today that we could definitely do more parts on. So first off, I'll start off with Nancy because she's to my left, and we'll kind of work my way around. Why did you choose your partner? And I say this because in marriage, I don't think we ask questions. We kind of just like, oh, we found that person, just keep it moving. But what made you say that's the human I want to be with the rest of my life?
That's an excellent question. I think it's a tough question to answer in just one fold. I think that there's a lot of different situations that happen in your lifetime that let you know that this is the person for you. Like for me personally, I got married later on in life. I chose to get married later on in life. My story is a little bit different because I ended up marrying my high school sweetheart. We didn't actually speak for like 15 years. And then through the miracle of, Facebook, we linked up again and just started talking again. So throughout that time, it let me know what I didn't want before I could know what I wanted. So when he came into my life, it was like after that saying where you kiss a lot of frogs to get to your prince. I guess I had to go through those trials and tribulations to realize what I deserved and the right love that I can give back. So what made me choose him? I think honestly, fate chose us to be together again and to understand that sometimes you do have to go through a rough patch to find that right person and to find your soulmate, even though they were in front of you 15 years ago.
That's really good. That's deep because I don't think much people say, oh yeah, I've just kind of like in your situation, losing touch and finding touch again. Thank God for social media. It's something I think we kind of think social media gets used for a lot of other things, memes, videos. I don't think we catch that one part of the connection piece.
Of course, yeah. Thank you, Facebook.
This is not a plug-in.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Knowing what you don't want before knowing what you really do need and want in life for that person to spend the rest of your life with. Like when I look at him, I can see myself being older and fighting over the remote at like 60 years old, you know? And I can see that.
Sounds fair.
Yep.
I'll win.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Selena and Monty. So I know you guys are. I don't want this to look like you guys are just trying to sell me on each other. But be honest, what drove you guys to each other?
Well, I'll start. Before he calls me out, I'll just say it. I did ghost him when we first met. We met on Bumble as a dating site, and I was going through it as a single mom to my 3-year-old at the time. And I was like, I'm not dragging in some guy who did nothing wrong into my mess. So I ghosted him and I left him on red and kind of ignored it. He then reached out to me a couple weeks later just to check in, see, hey, hi, how you doing? And from then we just continued our conversations, and I tried to give it a chance. But what really solidified, like, okay, this is the man for me, was my 3-year-old. She, upon first meeting him, their very first interaction, I told her that he was a friend just taking us to the airport, you know, just like an Uber driver type thing. Like, you don't need to know him. I just needed a ride. But she ran up to him, grabbed his hand, gave him a hug, and stood there with him and just stared at me and was like, okay, Mom, let's go. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, you don't know this person. And she's very shy. She's not one to just go up to people like that. So when she felt so comfortable with him, immediately I was like, oh, all right, I should probably give this guy more of a honest chance. And and it actually happened all very quickly. I'm pretty sure I proposed 6 months later, and we were I proposed like 2 or 3 months later. We were married 6 months later. Yeah, we'll be hitting 2 years in June, but just
Has it been 2 years? Wow.
Yeah, it'll be 2 years, June 4th. So, and it all like I said, it all happened very quickly, very fast, and I feel like it continues to happen fast because then we had the baby, and you know, just a lot of things in life moving. But we feel ready and we feel connected, and we're always on the same page when it comes to everything, except for maybe the TV remote. but it, you know, that's what solidified it for me, was that my 3-year-old was accepting of him, because I feel like as a single mother, you have to put your child's wants and needs first, because if your children are not comfortable with your partner, then there's no future. And to this day, they have the best bond, and that's her daddy, and she loves him and he loves her, and I can see it. So if it wasn't for her.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
That is actually amazing to even know that. And like you said, like, it's tough because as a single mother, you have to kind of rely on that. So I'm sure that looking at your child going, okay, if she's comfortable or he's comfortable, then
yeah.
You know.
Oh, and he slipped into the role so easily too. Like, he was very stop it. he was cautious at first because he didn't want to like step on any toes, and he didn't want to be offensive or like do too much all at once. But he would ask me, he's like, is it okay if I do this or say this, or can I hold her hand? Can I pick her up? I'm like, yeah, if she wants you to, go ahead. Like, she's old enough to say, no, don't touch me, or yes, give me a hug. Like, so because he was so sensitive to that, that's also something else that really helped. I saw that he was, you know, mature in that, like, ready to be a father sense.
Nice.
Now, Monty, no pressure.
Honestly, there's this, like Nancy said, there's really hard to put it into one story, like one, break it down to like the smallest integer is so hard to. Even though we've only known each other for such a short period of time, but I feel like we've known each other our entire lives. I think what ultimately why I chose her as my partner was I was going through like medical issues, and I just met her, and she immediately was like, you need to go get this, you need to go this, you need to do that, because she's in the medical field, so she knows certain things. She's like, you need to do this, you can't wait too long for this, it could be that, and so on and so forth. And for someone to genuinely care about someone else so much within a short period of time, it really made me
And I was out
consider.
of state, so it's not like I could go pick him up and take him. I was like, listen, if you don't take care of this before I get back, I'm going to physically take you myself.
She would call me and make sure that I was at the doctor or at the hospital or whatever. She all the way in Arizona. But it really, like, I didn't have that, I didn't have someone who was willing to put so much in right away, and she's an amazing mother to mine. That was another thing that really drove me, and I respected, even though she ghosted me, I respected the fact that she ghosted me because she put her child first. And at that point, I was like, I can potentially see this being the mother of my child someday, and she's a terrific mother. So I think that it's just kind of a multitude of different things for why I chose my partner.
Of course.
Amazing. And then I think as a guy, whenever I see, me and my wife met, and then I think a month later I was in the hospital because I got attacked by a dog. Love at first bite. So I think that kind of draws you into it when you sit there saying, "Oh man, like this woman wants to sit here and take care of me." Like as a guy, I'm like, of course, that's a no brainer. Like,
right.
Most women I know at around this time would have been like, "Call me when you're better."
Get Crocs. Yep. Let me know when you're good.
So that's awesome. It's relatable.
Can I give the bonus story? I knew Anise was the one for him. I was there for the dog bite. I left work. I told Annie to leave work. I was going to close up shop, and I met them there. The security guard didn't want to let me in. I was like, I'm the auntie. You got to let me in. So fine. They let me in. Anise gets there. Anise is there. And there's a moment where I don't know if they had to give you like a shot or something. I know we had to turn around because I was like, I'm not going to see this. I don't want to see this. And Anise was like, I got it. I got this. So Annie and I turn around, and she's taking care of Felix. And we turn around, and Annie and I look at each other, and we're like, this is the one. Like she won. She stole our heart at that moment. I was like, she is the one. That was it. The moment she was like, it's okay, guys. I got this. I was like, okay, we're turning around. Annie turns around, and we look at each other, and we're like, yep, I love her.
See?
So shout out to Anise.
All it takes to get a snag a man is make sure he's being taken care of, whether it's in the hospital or not.
That's right. That's right. She was like, I got this. Okay. Now, from a mom perspective, I know Annie felt a good way about it, and then from an auntie perspective, I was like, oh, she's it. That's it. If you mess this up, I'll kill you.
Oh man. So Chris, before we get more stories on my end, what's your story? Talk to me about your partner.
Well, she's in the room right now. We just put our son to sleep. But we've been together 19 years. Going on 19 years. Will be June 19th, actually. Yeah. So.
June.
Yes, June. We've been married the last 9, so we actually dated pretty much 10 years prior to getting married. But we met the summer before high school. So we actually met in middle school. We started dating the summer before high school, and then we've been together pretty much ever since. So, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, 19 years, going on 19 years. So
you don't see many people say 19 years dating or married, unless it's like, and they're not even throwing shots, but an older crowd. A lot of the newer generation, 90 babies to now. Can't stay 19 seconds with a woman or a man, let alone.
No, it's true. And the funny thing is, too, like, she was actually the one she got the number from one of our mutual friends. And she called me, and we actually spoke pretty much for like 2 weeks on the phone. And for the first 2 weeks, I didn't know who I was talking to. And then finally she tells me her name. So I went over on the yearbook, on the middle school yearbook. And I look into the yearbook, and I'm like, okay, this is the person. So... And then pretty much from there is, here we are 19 years later. Our son is going to be 4 years old now in April. So we actually had kids at a later stage in life, you could pretty much say. So, but it's been great. I mean, it's not always, rainbows and roses. Everybody pictures it, but, marriage is hard. But at the end of the day, it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely.
Definitely
I
worth
like
it.
the tenure. I like the tenure we have in the room. You've got,
Yeah.
you've got you with Chris a little bit more years in.
Right.
I've been married 7 years. We've been together 10 years. We've got
Yeah.
two or 3 years, and we've got
Yeah.
a newlywed here.
Yeah.
So I like the tenure that we've got going on here. So we've got
Dude's been married 30 seconds.
that's in marriage years.
Yes, I'm only here right now for my first cup of coffee.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. You're in the appetizer.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm still stuck on water right
That's
now.
it.
Yeah,
That's
he
it.
the water with the lemon and lime.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, that's some good stuff though. That's really good stuff, guys. I kind of want to change into this pretty tough question, because I know Chris, you have your kid with your wife, and that's
Yes.
yours. But Monty entering as a step parent and a parent of his own, and
Alex.
Nancy having two girls, and her husband's being a stepfather to her girls. I want to ask, what are challenges of a step parent entering? Not just entering marriage, I think entering just a relationship in general, but if we want to kind of focus it on marriage, what are challenges? And Monty, I'm gonna start it off with you, seeing how you're more of this is still really fresh for you, so I want to really get into this role.
You know what? It was very troublesome at first. Because it was I just really sat and I watched for many months on how Selena would do things when it came down to Maya. And I would picture myself doing that and like try to find, because I'm a man. That's not my biological daughter, but I'm here. I want to be there to also discipline and kind of take it off of Selena. But her not being my biological daughter and me being a male, I don't want to come off as dominant to her. I want her to understand that it's okay for a man to be sweet and gentle with his daughter, and that's what I wanted to give her. Um, Stability. It was another thing that I wanted to give her, and it was tough at first. Um,
You can be honest. We weren't very stable the first couple of years of her life, so to put that on the table for her was, I think, a lot for him.
yeah, it was a lot of pressure going into it because Maya was 3 years old when I met her, and now she's 5, almost 6. So the mindset, I'm really seeing who this person is becoming, and certain things you have to nip in the butt right away. Um, it was very challenging. I think the only one thing about it is having to give her a constant reminder that she loved and she's important, because she doesn't talk to her biological dad often. He is MIA, so it hurts her, and I know it hurts her. Like my father, I grew up without my father, so I understood what it was like to be a step parent from my stepfather, who's been in my life since I was 13 years old. So 17 years later, my stepfather is the only father that I really know outside of my grandfather, who passed several years ago. But he was the model that I looked up to, and now I'm trying to be the model to what my daughter cannot look up to. I want her to make sure that I am a good role model, so when she does get out there into the dating world, that she doesn't date, a knucklehead like her father.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has to be tough to feel. I'm not a bonus dad, or I'm a father of a dog right now, but you know, I always thought that as a guy who was like, if I get in a relationship with a woman who has a kid, how tough would that be in that part of it, like you said, the disciplinary, because it's not my child. Are they okay with me talking? Is it this? Is it do they? I obviously don't condone to hit a child that's not yours, spank, whatever. But if what's that? What are the boundaries? And I always felt like that's such a gray area for a bonus parent, a step parent, whatever you want to recognize them as. And
Oh, yeah.
and Selena, I want to get on your side. I know, Nancy, you have some stuff you want to say too, but like, how did you feel?
You can turn it.
And what was your respect? What was your not respect, but like, what was your thought process when you seeing him as a stepfather or jumping in as a stepfather?
So It's actually pretty funny because when we first moved in with each other, in my eyes, I was like, you're here and she's calling you dad, so discipline her. Like, help me, brush her hair to go to bed. Tell her no. It's okay to tell her no. You don't have to be her best friend all the time. And he was just very much like, no, I'm not ready for that. That feels weird. I'm not. No, you tell her no. I'm like, I already told her no. She's asking you. You can tell her no. It's okay. Like, and I understand that it was difficult, but I remember the first time that she called him daddy, because she was calling him Monty all the time, because that's just what we, he was new to us, so we called him Monty. We were with a friend at the park, and her kids were like, is that your dad? And she goes, that's my mom, and that's my, well, mommy, can I call him daddy? And I said, sure, baby, if you feel comfortable with that. And she said, Monty, can I call you daddy? And with like a knot in his throat and tears in his eyes.
Oh, right. I was a mess.
he was like, yeah, you can call me that, baby. And then the rest of the time that we were at the park, she was just daddy the whole time. And so I think once she like felt comfortable saying that to him, he was like, all right, I'm in. I can help out a little bit more. I can do a little bit more. But sometimes it is still hard. Like my daughter has a lot of sass. We have that Colombian blood in us. We're very sassy women, and I can't help it. But when I hear him like speaking to her sternly or giving her a lecture or talking to her about, you can't do this. This is why, whatever. Sometimes I get in my feelings and I'm like, don't talk to my baby that way. Our baby, shit. Well, I'm like, oh my God, wait. I get defensive and I get protective sometimes, and it's still something that I'm trying to overcome because, I've never had a 5-year-old before. She's my first daughter. So like every year that she gets older, it's something different that I'm learning how to be a mom too. And he's learning how to be a dad. And it's just sometimes it's still challenging because I'm like, why did you tell her that? Why did you talk to her that way or say this or say that? Like, and he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I talked to her about what happened at school, and this is what I said. I'm like, I wouldn't say it that way. And we like can disagree on topics like that, but at the same time, I have to kind of pull back and not get so emotional about it because I'm like, I know he's not doing or saying anything to intentionally harm her or to make her feel bad. Like he's just trying to teach her in his way, even if that's not the same way that I would do it. And I have to remind myself, like, we're a team and we are both her parents because, like he said, her biological father is in the dust. So I have to remind myself that it's okay for him to have his own way of parenting and that we can, join together to parent her together to build the best person that we want her to be. Mm-hmm. And I can't get so upset about it sometimes. But then adding this new addition into it too and getting to watch him be a father from the start, it's different as well. And I think it's a challenge for both of us to make sure that Maya doesn't feel like she's left out or that the baby is loved more and, because the attention and the jealousy and stuff like that. But it's a funny way to say it, but to watch him go from a step parent to a parent is different because I don't even really feel like he is Maya's step parent. I feel like he is her parent because that's how she views their relationship. That's how he views the relationship. When he talks about her, he doesn't say my stepdaughter or my wife's kid or whatever. He always refers to her as my daughter. When we were out and, we went to a corporate event the other night and people were like, oh, how's the baby? He said, yeah, the baby's good and my daughter's good too. And like he was bringing her up as his own. So
that's amazing.
Technically, yes, he is a step parent, but at the end of the day, I really don't feel like we see those titles and that we don't really adopt those labels because we are just a family as a whole. And there's no step or half or anything like that. We're all just a family.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took some time to get there, and every day I have to remind myself of it. Every day she gets in trouble, at least. But yeah, we're figuring it out as we go.
I think we all are at this point. Just
absolutely.
kind of make it up as we go through.
And Selena, let me just let you know, with being a girl mom myself of a 21-year-old and a 16-year-old, it gets better. Trust me.
Okay.
Did you notice the sarcasm though? I was being sarcastic. The sass does not get.
It doesn't
No.
change.
No. The sass does not get better. With me anyway. With my situation, Alex walked into a woman with more baggage than Louis Vuitton. Let's just be clear. I mean, he picked up a single mom with two girls, Lola. Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. I was a single mom with two girls. Lola at the time was 6 years old. She had just turned 6, and now she's 16. So, in our case, her father is absent only because he's deceased. So even though she only knew her dad from pictures and stuff because he passed away when she was very young. From the age of 6 to now, Alex has been the only true father figure, aside from her grandfather from my side and her grandfather from her father's side, who's been extremely influential in her life. Alex is the next father figure that she has had. And it was very interesting the way he chose to kind of form himself to the family, which was on his pace. He never wanted to, jump in and make her feel in any type of way like that. As a matter of fact, he took, I think, almost 6 months to meet her when I first moved back to Florida. And everything was very slow. He wanted to make sure that she was comfortable in every step of the way. Plus, we wanted to make sure we were on solid ground before I introduced him to any man. Yeah. But even their first interaction, when we did her quince last year, the speech that he gave, I'll tell you one thing. I was floored by my husband's speech that he gave at the quince, because he talked about their first interaction and he remembers it so vividly. It actually made me remember it, because what the hell am I going to remember that? But he remembered every single detail, even to the point of exactly what she told him in that interaction. And, to him, it was a big deal. And I loved the fact that he took his time to introduce himself to our family and never made himself intrusive where, what you said, Maya chose to call Monty daddy. Lola calls Alex stepdad, but it wasn't until the other day where we were actually at a table and she was with her friends and she was talking to her friends and she's like, well, yeah, my dad. And actually Annie was there and I looked at Annie and I was like, oh my God, that's the first time I've heard her refer to him as dad and not stepdad. And it came from her. So I didn't make a big deal out of it, but it did. But that just shows it takes time. Everybody's on a different, so there's no cookie cutter way for this to happen. The important thing is, especially as women, we have to remember, that we're moms first. So, and this goes for women too, that come into a blended family as well. It's not just for men coming in, it's women. I think that the best thing you can do is kind of come in and, you can't come in like a bull in a china shop. You just have to let things kind of flow organically and see where it's at. But especially as women, single moms, we always want to be a mom first, obviously, and then a woman. So it's imperative for the man to blend in, and because if it's not the right person, then I'm sorry, there's the door. I don't care how much I feel for you. I don't care how great things are. If it's not going to work with my kids, then it's not going to work with us. And that's imperative in any relationship. But the important thing I think that it goes back to is that communication aspect. You have to be able to communicate with that person of, these are my boundaries. Yes, I'm coming in with children. And the moment you have where that relationship is taking that next step into something serious, you have to have that communication and that conversation about, as far as the disciplinarian, I am the disciplinarian. Of course, if you have to reprimand, you reprimand. If you have to correct behaviors, you correct behaviors. But as far as I think communication is always key, because that's what's going to stop any issues from me and my partner, me and my husband, or me and my fiance or boyfriend or whatever we are at the time. If there's clear-cut boundaries through that communication, that's always going to kind of put the kibosh on any type of issues that we may have in the future. And that's what worked for us 10 years later. And let me tell you, now they gang up on me. She goes to Alex before she comes to me to try to get Alex to buy in on what she wants, and then they con me into accepting it. So now it's 2 against 1. They flip the script on me.
Chris, do you have any input? I know you're a father of a 4-year-old, but is there any input maybe on your end? Like just even thinking about like how you would feel.
I have a very similar story to Monty, because personally, my father was never really in the picture. I was blessed because on my mother's side, she has 4 brothers, which are, I have 4 uncles, and they kind of sort of molded me to what I am today. But my mom and my stepdad, which in reality he's my dad, but when they met, I was about 12, almost 13, which oddly enough, I met my wife pretty much about a year later. So in reality, my parents been married, going on 20 years. And then my wife and I, we've been together 19 years. So a little short story on that is, when we met, she was 14, I was 15. And then, pretty much the rest of the story is here. But my dad, or my stepdad, just to be clear, but he was really my father figure until today. Like, if anything will happen to him, I feel more for that. And actually, I have a brother and a sister from my biological father. And my sister, you guys were talking about Facebook and finding people on Facebook. My sister actually found me on Facebook about 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. We started talking, and, we have a good relationship. And she actually asked me a question probably about 8 years ago. And because she was very attached to our real father. And she asked me, like, well, if dad ever passes away, how will you feel? And I go, well, I really don't know him the way you know him. You get me? So I cannot really feel the same pain that you have, because to me, he's just another person. If, you read the news and somebody passed away on the news, you kind of feel for that person. But that's kind of sort of the same way that I will feel towards him, just because we really didn't have that relationship the same way that she did. But when it comes to, like step parenting, I mean, I'm not in those shoes. I always give props to everybody that steps in, because for me personally, growing up, not having that father figure, it was hard. Again, like I said, I was blessed to have 4 uncles that, kind of show me the way for the most part. But, when you're young, especially in your younger years, I mean, Monty, you stepped in when she was 3. I mean, obviously, when you think back and, you really don't remember much of what you did when you were 3 years old. But for her, right now, the fact that she's 5, that she's going to be 6, you've been her whole life. You get me? So you kind of look at it that way. And for me, like I said, I met my stepdad when I was 13. So realistically speaking, the first 13 years of my life, there was always that piece missing. You get me? I mean, I did have the guidance, thankfully, from my uncles. But at the same time, you kind of thank them for being there, but that they're not really there, if that makes any sense. And it is very different. And actually, it got to the point where I got so attached to one of my uncles that the same way that it kind of sort of happened to Monty. I asked one of my uncles if I could call him dad. You get me? When I was about 5 or 6 years old. So even till today, I still see him and I'm like, hey, dad, how you doing? He has kids of his own. And, it's always just that mutual respect between the both of us. But one thing that I have learned from not having my biological father was I knew what it was not having somebody there for me. So when I had my son, I always told myself that, I want to be the best version of what my father wasn't. And actually my best friend, Bob, he said a quote to me a few years back. And Felix, you actually know them, Bob and Margaret. They're,
Oh
Victor's
yeah.
parents. Yeah. So Bob is actually my best friend. We're actually neighbors. They live right across the street from me. So that's how we know each other. And then of course Victor, I know him from high school. So
Yep.
and of course, you know, when he comes and visits. But he said, you know, Victor gave him a quote one time that there's a song. He was actually the one who got me into country music. But it's a country song that says, if I remember the quote correctly, it's like, "You were the father that I wish I could be the half the father that you were to me." You get me? So anytime that I see, you know, in case of my best friend Bob's case, you know, he was a stepfather too. And anytime that I see someone that steps in and they become part of that role for that child, it's always an amazing experience. Just because I know personally how it feels not to have someone in your life, especially at the beginning of your life, pretty much. So, Monty, honestly, I mean, I seen you through here, but honestly, man, props, because believe it or not, I mean, you might not see it now, but later on in life, especially when she grows older and you know, she becomes a teenager and everything else, I'm pretty sure that everything that's going on right now, she'll definitely be thankful that you were there for her. So I definitely give props to anyone who stepped in.
100%.
And I can give you a 10-year picture from now. It's ironic because a 10-year picture now that Lola's 16 and he stepped in when she was 6.
Yeah.
He gave her the example of what to look for in a relationship, because my daughter's 16. She's going to start looking at boys differently now. So his sole purpose that he told me was, I need to be the example of what she looks for, so that she's not impressed by, you know, jovial things. I want her to be impressed. Like when a guy steps up to her, he needs to step correct, because I've taught her, and he's done. And I love the picture that you guys posted recently where you took her out for a father-daughter date, because Alex has done the same thing. They went to the father-daughter dance and he bought her flowers and opened up the door for him. And this is what he does to kind of emulate to set the expectation for what she's going to look for later on. So she's not impressed by like a hoodlum or whatever. No, like my stepdad or my father figure set the bar so high that you're not impressing me with this nonsense, you know? So
trust someone else.
It's imperative. Exactly. It's imperative. And you know, especially a mom to girls, it's very, and not that it is a little bit different when you have boys, but when you're a single mom to girls, you want that example for your daughter, because sometimes we have to be the ones to break that cycle. I don't want my daughter to go through what I went through in my younger years. I want them to learn from my mishaps and errors and not go through the hurt and the pain that I may have gone through in the past. And I want you to like set the bar higher and reach for, like, there are good men out there, and don't accept anything less but XYZ.
Amen, sister.
That's right.
Preach it.
That's right.
Yep.
So actually, that
awesome.
you brought that up, I actually leads to a really good question. I was kind of iffy to pull it up now and bring it up later. I didn't even know that. And you didn't know it, and I was kind of in my head this whole time looking at this question. So I'm gonna start with you, Chris, because you've been with your partner for so long. Before getting married to your present partner, your wife, what qualities did your partner have that drew you to wanting to marry them, and do they still have those same qualities today?
It's a good question. To be honest with you, I never really wanted to get married. That was, to me, marriage was kind of, and you know, kind of going back in the story is, I guess, just based on what my family has gone through, and my mom personally, she was never married prior to my stepfather. I never really looked at marriage as a, I guess, you know, as a necessity, I guess you could say. And then, of course, her and I, when we met, we were so young. We were, you know, just teenagers. We kind of just went with the flow, I guess you could say. One of the things that kind of drew me into her was we kind of had the same mentality, even though we're very different. I mean, we're opposites to almost everything. We like different music. We like different colors. We like different foods. But you know, everybody says the opposite attracts. So
You beat
one
me
of the
to
things
it. I
that
was
really
about to say
kind
the
of
same thing.
yeah. But one of those things that, you know, kind of like I really liked about her was her, you know, my mother-in-law. She was very old school. So the fact that she was, especially once we first moved in together too, is what, because we moved in together before we got married, obviously. You know, she was the type of woman that she, you know, she liked the cooking. You know, she liked to keep the house clean. She liked to, you know, do those house chores. And I was raised with my mother and my grandmother, so I already knew how to do all those things. I already knew how to cook. I already knew, you know, even till today, you know, I cook, I clean, I do laundry, I fold my own clothes. So it was just one of those things that we always looked at each other as we always helped each other. So it was never, you know, well, you know, you're the woman, so you're supposed to, you know, do all the house chores. I'm the man. I'm supposed to go out and work. We always kind of share everything. And at the same time, we also have a lot of like the life views of, you know, once we got older, you know, things that we wanted to do. You know, we wanted to travel. We kind of set a goal where, hey, you know, we want to, you know, travel by this age and have kids at this age, and, you know, do certain things by a particular age. And for the most part, we kind of sort of accomplished those things, not exactly at the age that we wanted, but not too far off of it either. Until today, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, marriage is not all, you know, rainbows and roses. So we had our mishaps, and we had our time where, you know, we do argue, and we have, you know, just different views on a lot of things. But at the end of the day, you know, we go to sleep, you know, we kiss each other, and, you know, we tell each other good night. We love each other. And at the end of the day, I guess it's just finding someone that it is your best friend. I mean, she's the type of person that, you know, if I have a bad day, I want to tell her about my bad day. And if I have a good day, I'm excited to tell her about my good day as well. You get me? So it's just finding that person that, you know, you're able to kind of sort of just be your best friend and be your own self. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
do you think that is that like and I ask this because I try to do this as much as I can.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the don't go to bed mad, don't go to sleep angry? Like, do you guys try to, or is it sometimes like I can't. I'll
I
deal
go
with
to
this
bed
tomorrow.
angry. I go to bed
Yeah.
angry.
Look,
Talk to me in the
when
morning.
it comes, yeah, when it comes to,
I might
when
need
it comes to,
the little hours of sleep after to let it marinate.
I can't
Look,
sleep.
I'll be honest with you. We have done both. There's been times where we have gone,
Mhm.
you know, we had an argument throughout the day or whatever the case may be, and, you know, we have to say I love you, good night, and we do kiss each other before we go to bed. And there's been
Of
times
course.
where, you know, we don't. You get me? The bad thing about not doing it, in, you know, in my view, for example, I'm a truck driver, so I'm always on the road. Thankfully, I'm local, so I come home every single day. But being on the road, you kind of see a lot of things, and you see so many accidents, and you see so many things that, and a lot of times I
You
go
just
like, well,
never
maybe
know.
that was the last time. Yeah, that was the last time I could have kissed her. That was the last time she, you know, we said I love you to each other. So I try my best. I should say we both try our best to not go to sleep angry at each other. But, you know, if I tell you that we haven't, I'll be lying to you. I mean, every marriage kind of goes through it, you know. So it's just
Mhm.
it's all part of it. It's all part of it. But ideally, to answer your question, ideally I do believe it. It's just sometimes it's easier said than done. So
I feel that.
Mhm.
yeah,
That's respectable.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we're talking real life scenarios, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
again, you try not to be, but at the same
Right.
time, it depends on the spectrum of the conversation that was had prior. Everything, you know, it doesn't stop me from loving my husband, but
Exactly.
I
it
don't love you
depends.
at this very moment.
At this, I
Right.
love you, but I don't like you right now. You know, it
Right,
doesn't
right.
stop me from loving you. I just don't like you, and I really don't want to see you at this moment. So
Right.
if we're talking
Right.
like the real deal, Holyfield, yeah, I
Yeah,
am.
I agree.
Yes, I. There's been times where, you know, I think it's okay to have both, but you just have to make sure. Again, it goes back to if anybody was to ask me what's the key, it's all communication. Like, if
Right.
I'm not ready to talk, just give me that space. I'm not ready to talk right now because I kind of know what's going to come out of my mouth at the moment. So if you
Mhm.
give me a moment, Like, if you pressure me to talk at the moment, you're not going to get the same Nancy that you're going to get
Right.
a few hours from now if you let it marinate and exactly. You're going to get like raw, you know, you don't want the raw. Let the raw go down a little bit. And then, but it depends on the seriousness of it too. So, I mean, if it's all a balance. And I think that that's the key with any marriage is that you guys are going to learn to know each other. And you're learning something new about your spouse and your partner every day. Like, I can tell already the okay. When I get an okay with a face, I know what's behind the face or the smirk or what's the genuine, yeah, I'm good. Then I know you're good. But I also know that, yeah, I'm good. I can feel it differently. So I think that that's going to come with time and knowing your spouse. So you kind of got to read the room and know when. It all goes back to communication. It really does.
I agree. Well, it's kind of like how they say it. It's not how you say it, it's how you said it. You know?
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's straight facts. Yes.
That is true.
Yeah.
So, Monty, I'm working away this way. So, Monty and Selena, the same question I asked to Chris is: so before getting married to your present partner, what qualities did your partner have that drew you to wanting to marry them? I think you guys kind of pretty much touched it, but I do want to, we can kind of revisit it. And do they still have those qualities today? I'll let Selena start.
Okay. Well, it was, important to me that he was ready to be a father because I did have a young child. And then also kind of like what Chris said, that he knew how to cook and clean and do laundry. And it wasn't like he was looking for a maid or a mom, like he was looking for a partner. So, because in my previous relationship, I was everything all at once, all the time, no give. It was all take. So for me, it was important to be able to find somebody that was self-sufficient, because not only am I taking care of my current child, but you want to have more children, and I got to work, and I got to take care of me and you. I need help. So once he was like, I'm good. Like, I can take care of myself. I can help you around the house. Like, one of our first dates was actually him coming over to help me wrap Christmas presents. And we watched a really bad Disney movie, and I cooked dinner. And he helped me clean up the dinner after we ate. And then we sat on the floor and wrapped Christmas presents till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was like,
God, that sounds like a Hallmark movie.
It does.
I love it.
It's not like a scene from The Good Witch or something.
It's like Hallmark.
But it was really important to me because I felt, I felt really damaged coming from my previous relationship. So I was like, I really need to find someone who's on the same maturity level as I am, and someone who's going to help me through life, not someone I have to drag behind me. So he definitely still has those qualities. Might leave socks on the floor every now and again, but as long as it's on his side.
It's a guy thing. I'll be honest, it's a guy thing.
You pick the socks up later. They will get picked up.
It will get picked up. It may not be at that right moment, but
just don't look for them to get picked up. Just wait.
But yeah, he's still checking my boxes every day.
Good stuff.
Honestly, for me, it was, I wanted someone who was going to be my biggest cheerleader. That's all I wanted. I wanted someone who was going to build me up every single day and make me a better person. That's all it was. And that's what I saw from her from day one. And even now to this day, like every accomplishment that I've ever made, like I was married before. And I told myself after that, I was never going to marry again. But, after a few years post-divorce, I was literally like, something has to give. And she came out of nowhere. And those qualities are encouraging me and trying to push me to be the best person I can be is the only thing I really needed. I didn't need anything else. And everything else I felt was going to fall into place. But I needed someone that was going to have my back and know that was going to be in my corner no matter what.
Yeah.
100%.
Good stuff. Yeah.
So I'm rereading the question, and it's the first thing that comes to my mind, at least with me. It says, before getting married to your present partner, what qualities did your partner have that drew you to wanting to marry them? With me, coming from the past that I came from, with the trials and tribulations of being a two-time single mom, um, I think the best quality that my now husband had and has is the ability to make me feel safe. I've I have, not to dwell too much on the past, but the ability that he made me feel not only loved but safe. And what I mean by safe is not only safe in a protective way, but my heart was safe. My feelings were safe. And he taught me how to feel again, because of my past, I had a really bad wall. And when I tell you my husband deserves like what is it? Congressional Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
And like a Purple Heart and all of them all at the same time. He went through so many walls and obstacles to try to break down those barriers to make me feel safe. So that's definitely a quality that he has and had throughout the 10 years of us being together that has made us last 10 years. And I'll tell you, honest to God, it wasn't me. It's been him. He's put in the work. And he's allowed me to break those barriers down and feel like I have a support system, and I have not only in you know in a relationship, but in a partnership, in a marriage, in two parents together, financially. I'm talking about stability all around that he has managed to provide to all of us. um and still to this day, where I feel like I can be myself and I can be my true self, open and wholeheartedly, and express what I want to express without any type of recourse or any tribulation that he would hold against me. I can tell him how I feel. And sometimes I do complain about, like I always say, my husband's like Dr. Phil. He likes to talk a lot about emotions, and I'm not. I'm just not. I'm like, okay, if we can't figure it out in 20 minutes, I'm done talking, bro. Like I can't talk. If we can't come to a resolution in about 20 minutes, I'm checked out. But with him, he has taught me that sometimes it does take longer than 20 minutes. I have to express the feelings, because that's what he needs also. So it's not only about what I need, but what he needs too. So when you say, do they still have those same qualities today? I say yes, and then some, because he's developed even more qualities throughout the year. And on top of that, he's made me a better person. Like as cliche as it sounds, he has truly completed me as a person. He's made me be able to feel things that I shut myself off years ago from feeling. So does he have those qualities today? Yes, and then some.
Oh, that's awesome. I haven't really answered. I've been wanting to listen and hear more about everybody's.
You're a sponge.
I'm just sponging right now. And especially as the newlywed. It's only 4 months.
45 seconds.
Yep. But kind of like Selena and Monty, you guys met and you guys almost immediately kind of knew it. When me and Anise, when I first met her, it was obviously the story of the dog bite, and then it was the after. It was the making sure that I wasn't just physically better, but I was mentally better. And it was the pushing of, okay, well, you're working here, but I know you can do more than that. It was the constant calling me on my bullshit, which I got away with a lot. And I would be like, okay, keep moving.
That's right.
Because before I met her, if you let me get away with it, I'll do it. I wouldn't cheat, I wouldn't steal, but I was going to find where I can keep going. And if I was stopped, okay, I knew that was the line. But if I kept going, by all means, let me have it. And I think the woman that I I know and I'm married to now, she has given me that sense of, like Chris, I didn't think marriage was going to become something I was going to have. I was in a 2-year relationship. It didn't pan out the way I thought it was going to pan out. And I just figured, well, I'll just be a bachelor till kingdom comes. And I always wanted to, but I just figured it wasn't in my cards, and I was okay with that. And she changed that for me. And I remember the conversation I had with my dad was the one that really said, okay, you're not looking at it with the same eyes. You're just like, oh, I'm in a relationship and it's cool. And when it was laid out in front of me, where I was kind of like, wow, she's done more for me now than anybody has ever done outside of my family, and outside of my friends. She has been here and has looked at my health, has looked at my financials, has looked at my person and said, you can be better than what you are giving yourself. And you are better than what you give yourself credit for. So that constant push, that constant, like, get up and do it. Don't just talk about it. I wouldn't even be doing this podcast had it not been for her saying, you can do more than just being at a desk in front of a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that trait and that quality to continuously say, you're more than this, and it's pushed me to say, I want to be with someone that's going to do that, who's going to look at me and says, listen, we're not where we're going to be at right now. We're not at that finish line. You got to get to that finish line. Let me help you.
That's right.
And she's grabbed me by the hand, sometimes by the ear and my beard, and says, we're going this way. And I go,
can't grab you by the hair.
Yeah, I can't do it on the hair. But
Right.
she will grab me and says, listen, get up and go. And we're going to do this. And I go, okay. And it's that constant knowing that she's going to be there to push me and motivate me in different ways. I'm used to being, I'm a sports guy. I was baseball, football. I was used to being yelled at, get up, move, let's go. She did it very differently. It was more psychologically that at first you're kind of go, huh, what does she mean by that? And then I was like, wait a second. And you just start moving and like, wait, I have a question about this, but why? And then it got into a deeper conversation versus just saying, okay. It was like, roo. I was more in that head, like, okay, why does she want me to do this? What am I showing that I'm not seeing in my own self? And she would always give me that. Oh, it looks like we lost Chris. But honestly, her qualities have given me so much push to wanting to be a better man and, eventually a father. And I mean, I can't thank her enough for that.
Mm-hmm. Diamonds are made under pressure. Sometimes we got to put that pressure on there to get that diamond. So,
and a lot of patience.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah.
But on both sides too.
Yep.
Patience, on both sides. Because, my husband could have ducked out many years ago with all the issues, that I had. And he stuck it through. So.
Oh yeah, I gave him options. I was like, hey, listen.
Several outs.
Like, if you want to get out, now is your time.
We
and
almost self-sabotage almost, because we're like, this can't be, and
like, why would you put up
this?
with it?
Yeah, like this is too good to be true. Like, where is this? I'm waiting for you to be like, okay, there's the balance. But no, the far and few, they stick through, and it takes work. Marriage is not easy. If it was easy, then our divorce rate wouldn't be, what is it? I pulled up some statistics and
I have it actually right here.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah.
So about 50% of marriage. And well, actually, no, this is the other one. This is the one I was actually looking for. So these are divorce rates.
Yep, I was pulling up the same thing.
So these are divorce rates. So first marriages, and the fact that we have to do this, there's multiple marriages on a lot of conversations. But first marriage divorce rates 42%, second marriage is 60%, and third marriages we're looking at 73%.
That's staggering when you look at that right there. And you know what points out to me, not even the fact that we're almost at half of marriages, first marriages, end in divorce. That's not even staggering to me. It's the, put that up again one more time. What is it? 73% of third marriages. So that means you had to go through this three times, and almost 3/4 of those marriages end up in divorce. At that time, I think that there needs to be a huge mirror put in front of you and say, okay, you know, you're the common denominator here. Like sometimes, and that leads to a lot of, that can lead into a whole different podcast of like looking for like self-reflecting and looking at like, what are you bringing to the table? And if you're not okay, you're never going. And that's what I see when I see that 73%. If you're not good, you're never going to be able to make you're never going to be able to make that other person whole. You're never going to be able to bring what that other person needs to the table. So aside from looking at the first marriages, I'm more baffled by the third marriages at 73%, which I'm just like, at that point, damn it, that's what is
what are we doing?
What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting different results? 73% right there. That's insanity. Like you got to work on yourself before you can even try to make another person fulfill another person.
And I think that's the biggest part of this, is that, you know, hopefully anyone who sees this, that, you know, can get that message, or even think about a lot more into what they're going to do next. Because if you're engaged, or if you're thinking about getting engaged, it's that first part. I think the first year of marriage is, you know, the hardest part. And with me and my wife now 4 months in, you know, it's not that it's been all hell, you know, it's been really great. But then there's also been a lot of moments where we've had that, you know, just tough conversations that maybe we're not used to on our ends. So it's tough to see, and it's shocking to see that. And this is only, so this stat here was only on US marriage. So this isn't even looking at worldwide. Because there's other stats that I found that show, like, I think Russia is the leading nation in divorce rates, and I think they're at a staggering like 70%.
For the first or second.
Yeah. So, but it's still, though, nonetheless, the fact that it's something that happens so much, it you have to end up saying, like she said, is it, who's at fault? Is it solely you, or is it, you know, is it something, maybe a communication? You know, there's got to be a reason.
There's a gap somewhere.
The third time around, it's like you kind of get a picture of, I mean, are you looking for the same type of partner and spouse the third time around? I mean, I only got married. I've only been married once, but I do have 2 other children. So I've been in long-term relationships prior. And my eldest, we were together for 6 years, and you know that has its own story on its own, but we're actually best friends right now. Like we have great, which is why our daughter has been able to be so successful. Our 21-year-old is because we have a great relationship. We co-parent very, very well. Not only co-parent, but he's like my best friend. We talk, you know, constantly, especially when anything that's about our daughter. But you know, I never physically got married, because to me, and I don't know, Selena, maybe you can relate. You know when you want to take that leap. You know when you want to take that, and it took into my late 30s to realize that this was the man for me. So there was a reason why I didn't get married at 21. There was a reason why I didn't get married with Lola's father at, you know, 25 or 26. There was a reason why. It was because in my head, my parents were together for, my God, 42 years before my father passed. So I saw them stick through. I mean, I saw my mother stick through things that I would have never stuck by. I mean, I love my father. I'm daddy's little girl, but I wouldn't have had stuck with half of the things my father put my mother through, but they did. They made it work, and raised seeing. So to me, marriage in my head was, this has to be the person that I'm willing to stick with for the rest of my life. Because when I say I do, I've always said I'm going to say I do once and that's it. So
Yeah.
for me to make that decision to marry Alex was, yes, it was later on in life, but it was because there was something that clicked, that made not only the fact that I felt safe, but something clicked knowing that this is the person for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I agree. My upbringing was a little bit different. My dad is actually working on his 4th marriage right now. Um, so I watched him go through girlfriends and a marriage be torn apart. My mom and dad split when I was 6, and then he got married again when I was 15, and they didn't work. And so for me, I was like, I'm not going to get married to somebody because I have their kid. And that's what my ex was like. Well, we had a kid. Let's get married. I'll do it. Good job, Monty.
Oh.
My ex was like, like, we had a kid. I'm going to join the military. Let's get married. I was like, no, not marrying you because I had your kid. Like, I love her, but honestly, she was not planned. So, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to jump into that with you. And thank goodness I didn't, because he is not the kind of person that I want to be with. So when I proposed to Monty, it was because I was ready and I didn't want to wait around for 2 or 3 years for, him to feel like he was ready for that. I'm like, I know that I'm ready now. And if you're not ready now, then you're not my person. And like you said, he did make me feel safe and made my daughter feel safe and loved and
Mm-hmm.
accepted. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm ready to do this, so we're going to do it. And I knew that once I said yes and once it happened, that was it. I'm like, you're not going nowhere. You're mad. You take your ass to bed. We're going to talk about it later. Like, if we need to go to therapy or we need to yell at each other, during my pregnancy was really a trying time for us too, because I was full of hormones. But what I found worked really well was I would write a letter about everything that was upset about, even if it was because he's like didn't take a shower that morning and he stunk all day or whatever, something stupid like that, because I was pregnant and hormonal, right? So, but I would write everything down and I would give it to him and I'd be like, I'll be waiting in the bedroom, and when you're done reading it downstairs, you can come upstairs and we can talk about it. And I don't like it. Just, that's what worked during during my pregnancy. I mean, now it's different. Now I can tell him off the cuff. I'm like, don't do that. You're pissing me off. Don't do this. Or why did you say this? Or, hey, we need to talk about that. But it's all about, like you said, communication
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that when you do decide to get married, that's it. There's no second, for me at least. I mean, I know he had one before me, but it's that, I didn't.
We don't talk about Bruno.
But that's
No.
okay, because again, you have to know what you don't want to know what you really
Right.
want.
Yep.
You know
And
what I mean?
he showed me that.
Mhm.
We were on and off for 4, almost 5 years. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
told Monty, I'm like, these are the boundaries that you had mentioned. I'm like, these are the boundaries that I have, and I'm not willing to compromise on these. I can compromise a little bit on this one, but not this one. And he
Mhm.
took those very seriously. When we first started talking to each other and first started getting to know each other, I was like, I won't stand for these things. So if you do these things, you can lose my number right now. And
Mhm.
he actually made a lot of compromise and a lot of sacrifices in order for us to continue to speak and get to know each other. Just like bad habits, different things that I wouldn't, that I don't personally do, that I don't want done in my home. But he had these habits and things, and he was willing to stop those so that he could respect my wishes and my boundaries, because he knew that he wanted me at the end of the day. So even just seeing somebody that was like willing to change themselves, and I don't mean like you're not supposed to change yourself for your partner, but like little things
You
like, okay,
compromise.
You
yeah,
compromise,
You
yeah.
compromise,
like,
of course.
so once I saw that someone was willing to do that for me, I was like, oh wow, like it's not impossible.
Mhm.
So, but that's awesome. I mean, guys, we had a lot of great information, a lot of great stories. I think we're gonna go ahead and check it up right here. I definitely would love if you guys would like to come back on
Part
a
two.
part two for sure.
Definitely need a
Part
part two
two.
because I feel like this one was like, it's great. We gave a lot of information, but we need to get to the nitty gritty of when things don't work out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what do you do with the true trials and tribulations? How do you handle that? How do you handle the conflicts? How do you handle those obstacles and those road bumps that are coming that you may have faced, that you haven't faced? You know, all those topics that are really to the nitty gritty
Yeah.
of what makes, you know, not sugarcoating anything. We got to get down to the dirty.
And I think like
Right.
I mentioned early on, there's so many layers that we can kind of jump in on. And I definitely think that there's more to come and more information. So if you guys would love to be on a part two, we could talk about doing a part two and
Part
get this going.
two coming soon.
Guys, like for everyone who watched in today, guys, thank you guys. I know we lost Chris due to technical difficulties. He had to message me on the side. He was having some issues, but I do thank him for joining on the show. Guys, if you love the information you got today, please like and subscribe to the channel. I will be posting on my other YouTube channel going forward. We will be using our Rated F mainly for the Rated F post. But if you guys would love to subscribe to here as well, feel free. It's here. We love all the support as possible, guys. Also, you can follow me on my Instagram. I will be posting it in the comments, so you guys can follow me there. We'll be posting more information about when we're gonna go live, when the part 2 is gonna be coming, and then any other information or any other topics I'll be talking about as well. Do you guys have anything for our guest that came in?
No, y'all stay tuned for part 2.
That's
Y'all
right.
stay
That's
tuned.
right. Part 2 coming soon.
If y'all
Now
want
we're
more
gonna get
from
to
me,
the
y'all
nitty
gotta stay
gritty.
for part 2.
No, we're gonna keep. We always keep it real. That's the one thing you're always gonna get from me is 100% transparency. And you know, if a little bit of my story or any of our stories can change or impact somebody in a positive way, then that's what this is all about, is sharing and you know, being uncensored and being able to help anybody else who might be going through the same thing or just having the same thought, or making them feel like, hey, yeah, I do feel that way. It's okay. You know,
Yeah.
every feeling that you have is okay. So if we can touch one person, then we're good.
Yep.
Right.
Mission accomplished.
True.
All right, guys. So peace, love, and stay safe.
Deuces.
See you next time.
Stay tuned for part 2.
Wow, this is the thrill. Welcome to the thrill. Giving you something that's real. Tell me how you really feel. Now that you're hearing the thrill.